Hey, welcome to Days with Jen. I am sorry, yesterday there was a foul up with the computer and I couldn't go live yesterday, so I figured I'd try today. So I'm glad we are able to. I went to church this morning. It was really good. Made it to Sacrament meeting, and the talks were very, very good. And a couple of youth speakers that are 18, and we call them youth speakers because they're that young. And one of the presidents from Coquille. Whoops, there went my phone. So just one moment. Let me grab my phone real quick. I have to have that up here, just for important stuff, just in case I get a call from work. So I hope your week's been great. Mine has been a little crazy, but I am very grateful that God has put me in the right place at the right time. And yesterday I ended up helping with a car accident. So because of where I live, it happened to cross on the other side of the field from where I'm backed up to. And even though the fire department wanted to be kind of jerks, instead of allowing me to stay on scene until the police arrived, they wanted to run me out of there, and found out later from a friend of mine that actually the fire department had no say so. As long as I was out of their way, I wasn't near the car, I was back. They really had no say so over me waiting for the police. And when I did see the state troopers, I did go over and give my statement and information. So that is something very important for you guys to know. If you witness a car accident, if you lend aid during that car accident, if you can, wait for the troopers. If not, and somebody else is staying, give them your information so they can give it to the police. Because you never know when the police might need that information for that particular accident. Very important stuff. Update from when I was at the hospital and the ER ran the magnesium really fast through the port, burning my back and chest. The port may be damaged. We tried it on Thursday. It caused pain, caused severe nausea, burning in the back of my throat. Saline doesn't bother me like that. So we're letting the port rest, and I'll be calling tomorrow to reschedule to see if we can flush the port, even though she's able to flush it. And the nurse was able to pull blood. It was causing a lot of pain. So we're going to give it one more shot, hopefully in a week or two. And if it's the same way, then it means it will have to be replaced after only 6.5 years. All because the ER didn't want to listen, wanted to listen to their inpatient pharmacist instead of somebody who actually knows their body and knows the port and the veins and all that. So that's what we're waiting on. Did my first iron infusion though. We got that through that. Got another one coming up Thursday. I have a little more energy today. So during this week, I have been crocheting like crazy. So I am finishing up my 10th white square. So I have not stitched in the ends yet. I got 2 of them done today. When I was at church listening, I'm usually able to crochet and listen. And also, too, thanks to Isaac McKenna, even though the money he gave GoFundMe takes a little bit out, we were able to get a skein of white yarn, and I added a little bit of my money. So all of his money went to 2 skeins of the white yarn for the cancer blanket. So thank you again, Isaac McKenna, for that help. I am sorry that my voice is off today, and I'm kind of raspy, asthma, and with the pollen being bad, it does not help. So I am drinking fluids like crazy. So today I have my Coke with me. So one of the biggest things, also I tell people, like, if you can, subscribe. If you can't, just check every week. Usually Saturdays is when I do my video. So usually on the weekend. I put a post out yesterday that I couldn't do the video yesterday because there was a problem. So just look and see if there's a post, if there's a new video that's been published. Always just check. You never know. And if I know I'm not going to be on for a week or two, I will always notify you. So we're going to finish up here our 10th white granny square here. And for this blanket, I always do put in to what I'm using, which is always 100% acrylic yarn for this blanket. And I am using the size H, or 5.0 is the millimeters for this hook, for this particular blanket. Now, we don't know if this is going to be a long blanket or a lap blanket. But as I was talking to the nurse this week, and told her what I was doing, she loved the idea of the blankets, that I'm showing these off. I'm showing how to do it, and that I am talking about these issues. And she even agreed that, yes, people that are fighting cancer, going through chemo, do get really cold because their body is fighting such a deadly disease. And it can be horrible. And last week, I spoke quite a bit about Jesus Christ and following him, and that he broke the bands of death, and that the tomb that he was buried in is empty in Jerusalem. And because of that, we don't have to fear death. We just need to learn to walk a path that God puts in front of us. And yeah, we're all going to go through trials and tribulations. Nobody's perfect, but we all are going to have these trials and tribulations that we're going to have to go through. And God doesn't promise it's going to be easy, but he does promise to walk through it with us. This week, again, I watched one of my favorite movies. I do highly recommend the Kendrick Brother series of movies. I don't know if you can still get their first one, Flywheel. I bought it off Amazon. That is our 10th white one. White granny square. But if you've never heard me talk about the Kendrick Brothers movies, they're great. They're family oriented. There's 7 of them, I believe. They all have a theme. There's Flywheel, Facing the Giants, Fireproof. There's Courageous. There's Mom's Night Out, War Room, Overcomer. These are movies that not only help build families, but Flywheel is about honesty. Facing the Giants is about fear. Fireproof is about marriage. Courageous is about fatherhood. Mom's Night Out is about motherhood. War Room is about prayer, and Overcomers about overcoming difficulties in life. And so that's why I do highly recommend these movies for any family that might be struggling in one area or another. And that's what our page here is about, besides crocheting, helping people. It's also about talking about God and what he's given us in life. And I've seen some struggles even in our own church. As I saw people today I haven't seen for quite a while because they've had really bad health issues, and yet they showed up today. I was at church today, and people were happy to see us return back to our church and back to what is considered our church families. And everybody knows pretty much struggles that we all go through in the church ward, our church family. So we've always got somebody to call upon. Even though we call upon God first, we always have brothers and sisters in our ward that we call upon, whether it's prayer, whether we need help with meals, whether it's a ride for an appointment. There's always something that we are doing. Also, I just read yesterday that Our church sent over 9 ventilators over to Thailand. 9. Also, 3 trucks rolled into, I can't remember where it was, here in the US, taking supplies into a fire-ridden area. So our trucks are rolling, and they're getting supplies out of Utah again. And when there was an issue with the SNAP benefits, a lot of people complained. What they didn't realize is a lot of the food banks, the food was coming out of Utah. It was coming from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They didn't realize those trucks rolling that brought in the food were from the church helping other parts of the country here in the US, and we do help around the world. I've seen our people at tornado-ridden areas. You see somebody with a yellow vest saying helping hands, that's a member of the church out there working and helping. We have Doctors Without Borders. We have doctors that join them and go out. I have a friend who's a podiatrist who goes to Honduras once a year for a week, doing free surgeries for children that have club feet and leg issues. A lot of people want to bash the church, but they don't realize how much the church steps in. The 2 biggest churches I see step in around the world is the Catholic Church and the LDS Church are the 2 that step in the most. But we do have this life to live. We should work on being kind. We should work on following God's principles of loving each other and not judging one another. I have seen so much judgment because of people going to one church or another. Yeah, there's women that are bishops that I do not agree with because they're teaching abortion's okay. They're teaching stuff that God would not teach. It goes against God's word. And today, one of our presidents from Crochet spoke about marriage, which was really awesome to hear, of how when you are by yourself, you don't realize all your flaws. You think, oh, it's just me. I only have to take care of myself. Until you marry your fiance, who also has flaws. And you're living with him 24 hours a day. And then he realized that he did have a lot of flaws. And he said his wife really had to work on patience with him. But she was able to do it. Sometimes husbands and wives fight. That's going to be normal. 7 years. The first 7 years is always going to be the hardest. The first 2 are always going to be kids and money. I've been lucky with my fiance of 2 years already that even in our disagreements, when we both have gotten angry, him and I both have said, you know what, let's stop talking, let's step back, and we'll finish this discussion tomorrow. It has given us both time to think, to change our attitude, and come back and look at the problem together and say, this is where we made the mistakes, and saying, I'm sorry to each other for losing our tempers. And it's not been easy, but we've made it work. How have we made it work? By putting God first in our relationship. We have learned a lot about each other for the last 2 years, each other's strengths, our weaknesses, and how much stronger we are together as a team. We work as a team, even though we're pretty far apart from each other right now. Yeah, long distance relationships aren't easy. You really have to work at it. And if you can make it work those few years, then you know your marriage is going to work. And what is bound in heaven is bound here on earth. And that's a wonderful concept that God has given us, to know that what is bound in heaven, our families, is bound here on earth as a family. and we can be with our families in heaven. So I just wanted to give you that message on this beautiful Sunday. It is warm outside. We have a nice little breeze. So let's get back to our blanket. I just finished the 10th square. So we're going to go ahead and work on a granny square together. And then I think we'll be done for today. We're already almost 16 minutes in. So I've already done my first shell. I've done my my chain of the 2 stitches here. I'm going to go into my next shell because I'm still in my first row of shells. So I'm going to do chain, chain, yarn over, and do my shell. So this is the 3rd shell. We're going to do chain, chain. We're going to yarn over and go in and do our 4th shell for our first row here. Once we do that, we can tighten this up a little bit. We can tighten that up a little bit. Make sure we have our holes here. But what's still left to do? We have to do another 2 chains to connect this. So here is our 3, 1, 2, 3. We're not going to go into that, but we're going to go into the second. And that connects our first little granny square. So then I am going to go into the hole here, yarn over, pull through, and I'm going to slip stitch over to the corner. I always find it's much easier to start in a corner, especially when you're doing blankets and other things like that. So we're going to go ahead and chain 3, and we're going to do our first shell. We're going to chain 2 for our corner. And there's our second shell. And it's okay. Sometimes the yarn somehow has gotten a little disconnected. So what I do is I look to see where that yarn is and where it's tied. And I just try to take off a little bit of the excess of the yarn. So it's in there. Then we're going to chain 1 because we're going across to this connection. And my yarn spinner that I had to take the skeins of yarn to make them to balls decided to rust out on me. So I have to buy a new one. So right now I'm just using the yarn here. So we're going to go ahead and do another shell. We're going to chain 2, shell. Yarn over. And we're going to chain 1, yarn over, and do our next shell because we are working on our second row. Chain, chain. Whoops. Do the last double crochet for that chain. We're going to chain 1 and we're going over to this corner to do our last shell. So we got 1 here. And we're going to chain 2 in our second. I should have said second to the last shell. Last shell here for this corner. Chain 1. Same thing. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're not going in that one. We're going to go in the one next to it. Chain over. And if you have to lay it down, you can kind of stretch it out a little bit just so you can see how it's looking. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch over. So we're going to do our 3rd row here. Chain 3 to start our first shell. So I hope this next week brings you happiness and joy. Hopefully you can get out with your family, do some vacation. I actually really miss the days of camping, and I really miss the days of going fishing in the summertime with my dad. He always made it a very big deal for us as kids, and I really miss that. So, 2, 3. So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm just doing 1 chain in between each. Like I said, I finished one and got a whole nother one done, and the one I just finished a little while ago, uh, I had almost gotten it done at church. So I take my crocheting because sometimes just my brain works faster sometimes, and I don't pay attention always to what people are saying. So if I'm busy with my hands, then I actually pay better attention. One of those weird things. Some people would say, "Oh, that's kind of rude." Well, people at the church know I crochet because I used to teach a class at our church, and I still will teach. So if somebody wants me to come out somewhere and teach, I'll come out and teach. That's not an issue. I mean, I live here in Lakeside, so I'll come to the surrounding area to teach the basic crochet. Once you have some of the basics down, it can be actually, and you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. So chain 1, I'm going through right here. 2, 3. We're gonna go ahead and chain 1, and we're gonna go over here again. Remember, you're not gonna go into a third stitch. 1, 2, 3. You're gonna go into the one next thread. So that way it's also solid and holds it better. We're gonna slip stitch. I just stretch my hands out. Ooh, sorry, yeah, my knuckles do crack. Um, I have arthritis in my hands. Luckily, it's not RA, it's osteoarthritis. So yes, even with the videos, my hands get to hurting sometimes, but I'm still able to do this. So we now, if we look at our granny square, we see we got 4 going across. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know to make it 5 on each side, we are going to have to do 1 more row. So we are going to go ahead and chain our 3 to start our last row. Start with our first shell. Go 1, 2, shell. And for a blanket, if you want to just do a blanket for a friend, lap blanket, you can make these as big or you can do small. You can do any colors you want. If you want to make yours granny squares a little bit smaller, you can drop down. This is a size H. You can go down to a G. If you want to make them bigger, you can go to a size I or a size J with those hooks. So it's really depending on how you want your design for these. And this first blanket, I'm not sure yet if I'm sending it back east or if I'm going to actually send it or give it to Lower Umpqua to the outpatient nursing for their cancer patients. So don't know yet. I need to talk to the outpatient nursing staff to find out really what they need. They've got plenty of hats, but don't have really any blankets. So let's see. 1. And then we're going to go into doing our next shell. We're going to chain 1, Go to our next shell. And yes, I do crochet fast at times. Once you get the hang of it, you'd be surprised of how fast you can go. I actually, last year, 2 years ago, I saw a kid prodigy that just, man, he could whip up stuff so fast. Chain 2 for our corner. 1, 2, 3 for this shell. So I got to put mine down for a minute because I just have to stretch it out just a little bit, just to see, because sometimes they'll bunch up a little bit. So I just had to kind of stretch it out, see where I was. So yarned over 1, do another shell, yarn 1, chain 1, and another shell. Chain 1, and I'm going into our last shell on this row. And then I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to yarn over and do the shell here for this corner, for the last corner. Now your shells can be 3 or 5. So for this blanket, it's the granny squares are only a set of 3 shells. Later on, I will show you how to do the 5 shell blanket, and that will be actually different looking. To do 5 shells for granny squares. It's unique. Oops, did I do that right? Yeah, I thought I had an extra stitch and I didn't. So if you're not sure, it's okay to back out, double check your stitches to make sure you got your stitch count right. 2, 3. So this is going to be our last shell. For this row, we're going to chain 1. We're going to look over. And I apologize for the siren. This has our 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are correct all the way around. The yarn. There we go. So there is our granny square that we made today together. So, and maybe our next blanket that we do, it won't be long and I'll start putting this lap blanket together, but the next blanket, maybe we'll change it up a bit of changing colors on our granny square to make it very colorful. How's that sound for you? So please let me know down in the comments after this blanket that we're doing, if you would like to learn how to be able to change colors in these granny squares to make it look very unique. And we will even make bigger granny squares. But it also comes down to the yarn. We still have not met our quota yet. And our quota was 600 and we've only had $6. So please like, subscribe. If the subscribe button's not on there, please check back with me and let me know. I've been trying to fix it. I'm still learning as I go. So we hope you enjoy your week and have a beautiful Sunday. Until next time, thanks for joining me on the Days with Jen. I'm making these granny squares for the Cancer Blanket.